October 24th, 1929, Black Thursday. In just 6 hours, Americans lost $14 billion, more than the entire economy of Canada at the time. 13 million shares sold in panic, phone lines jammed, communication with the stock exchange severed. And yet, very few knew that this catastrophic crash had been set in motion by a single man. Newspapers called him Sunshine Charlie, America's most popular banker. Charles E. Mitchell. 7 months earlier, Mitchell made a statement meant to stabilize the market. Instead, it ignited the chain of events that would culminate in the Great Depression, a decade-long economic nightmare that left 25 million Americans unemployed, 5,000 banks closed, and millions homeless. How could it all begin with just one man? To understand, we must first look at America in the 1920s. A nation intoxicated with growth, innovation, and the promise of endless wealth. The 1920s, the roaring 20s. Ford cars filled the streets, radios echoed in every home, jazz clubs thrived, and skyscrapers scraped the sky. America's prosperity seemed eternal, but behind the glittering facade, the seeds of disaster were quietly being sown. Enter Charles Edwin Mitchell, born in 1877, the son of a Massachusetts farmer. No one would have guessed that this unassuming man would one day reshape the nation's economy. By 1919, Mitchell was the head of National City Bank, the largest bank in the United States, controlling assets of $2.7 billion, more than the budgets of many countries at the time. But Mitchell had a vision. The stock market should not be a playground for the wealthy alone. Every American should be an investor, he argued. In 1920, Mitchell created the National City Company, a subsidiary designed to sell stocks to everyday Americans, right at bank branches. Ordinary people were invited into the world of high finance. Mitchell's sales force weren't ordinary bankers. They were dream merchants, trained to sell the American dream. Invest just $15 a month, become a partner in American Telephone and Telegraph, make your children proud. Magazines printed success stories of secretaries, mechanics, and teachers who had become millionaires on paper. Every detail was calculated. Posters displayed smiling families, big houses, shiny cars, symbols of the prosperity stock ownership promised. But the true genius, and the hidden danger, lay in margin trading. Investors could put down just 10% of their own money, borrowing the rest from the bank. A small investment could be magnified tenfold. At first, it seemed miraculous. A teacher from Ohio mortgaged her house to buy stocks in the radio corporation. A mechanic in Detroit invested 6 months' salary in Ford. The country was intoxicated with wealth, and Mitchell basked in his success. By 1928, he earned $1.2 million, roughly $20 million in today's dollars. Called a democratizer of Wall Street, Mitchell had transformed millions of Americans into investors, and the market into a giant house of cards. Mitchell went further. Investment trusts bought stocks with borrowed money, which were then purchased on credit again, creating a pyramid of debt fueled by the illusion that prices would rise forever. By spring 1929, economists warned that the market was overheating. Stock prices were climbing faster than company profits, and the Federal Reserve issued cautionary signals. But on March 12th, Mitchell made a fateful statement. National City Bank will provide the market with all liquidity it needs. We will not allow an unnecessary crisis to occur. The immediate effect was euphoric. Headlines hailed Sunshine Charlie as the savior of the market. Stocks soared. The final stage of mania had begun. By summer, the Dow Jones hit historic highs. 3 million new Americans joined the market. Everyone, it seemed, was getting rich, until reality intervened. Even as prices climbed, the foundations of the market were crumbling. Industrial production slowed, car sales dipped, home construction fell, yet stocks kept rising. Margin debt had reached critical levels. A 10% drop could wipe out entire fortunes. Insiders and large investors noticed. Joseph Kennedy, father of a future president, later recalled, "When the shoe shiner started giving me stock advice, I knew it was time to sell." By October, the pressure was unbearable. Rumors of interest rate hikes, combined with rising margin debt, set the stage for disaster. On October 24, 1929, the market collapsed. Hundreds of thousands of shares sold simultaneously. First, slowly, then in an avalanche. Panic spread. Banks called in loans, investors were forced to sell, prices plunged. By the end of the day, 13 million shares had changed hands, 5 times the usual volume. And this was just the beginning. October 29th, Black Tuesday. Another $14 billion lost in a single day, more than the United States spent in all of World War I. Numbers alone failed to capture the devastation. Edward Hopkins, a mechanic from Detroit, lost his life savings overnight. Mary Kay Field, a teacher in Ohio, lost her family home. Suicide rates spiked. Bread lines stretched for miles. Families lived in cardboard boxes in tent cities bitterly called Hoovervilles. All of this set in motion by a system designed to make everyone rich, overseen by one man, Charles Mitchell. In 1933, Mitchell was called to Congress. Senator Carter Glass asked, "Do you consider yourself responsible for the ruin of millions of American families?" Mitchell replied, "I wanted to give people the opportunity to get rich. No one forced them to buy stocks." He was later tried for tax evasion and forced to resign in disgrace. Sunshine Charlie, once a symbol of financial genius, became a cautionary tale of greed and hubris. National City Bank, paradoxically, survived, stronger, having absorbed weaker competitors. The catastrophe changed America forever. Glass-Steagall Act separated commercial and investment banking. The SEC was created. Gold ownership was restricted. A generation lost faith in the stock market, opting to keep money under mattresses rather than trusting banks. Almost a century later, the echoes of Mitchell's experiment resonate. 50 million Americans trade stocks on smartphones. Margin debt has reached historic levels. Apps promise easy wealth. Cryptocurrencies, meme stocks, high leverage trading, the allure remains the same. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. Sunshine Charlie's story reminds us, good intentions, if amplified by human greed and unregulated systems, can trigger catastrophe. Charles Mitchell wanted to democratize wealth. Instead, he triggered the most devastating economic collapse in modern history. As you scroll through stock apps today, remember Sunshine Charlie and ask, who truly profits from the next financial revolution?